Hey, this is Lori Kilpatrick. We're doing Sit Back with Lori. Just settle in for a chat. I think it sounds like Sit Back. I thought it was clever. Anyway, today is Thursday, September 26, 2019. And today we're going to be talking about Take the Step. I did Pampered Chef a long time ago, and my upline person was in Illinois, a lovely lady. She encouraged me to read this book called Eat That Frog. Excuse me. Which whole thing was, if you knew you had to eat a frog every day, you should just eat it at the beginning of the day and be done. And that there should be a task that you do to head towards your goal, and that's your frog. So if you don't eat your frog at the beginning of the day, you're going to be thinking about your frog. And then if you talk yourself out of eating your frog that day, you'll have 2 frogs the next day. You know, kind of that, like, we sabotage ourselves and we need to knock it off kind of a thing, which she was absolutely right. I just wasn't in a place to understand or do that. So, yeah, no matter what you're doing or what your goal is, not doing, but like, no matter what your goal is, there should be a goal. You shouldn't just be floating through, you know, whether it's meal planning or cleaning up your diets or drinking more water or getting enough sleep or trying to figure out how your schedule is going to work or juggling homeschooling or starting a business or, you know, getting out there and getting in groups or having a baby or whatever you're going through. That was anyway. The thing is that you don't have to do it all at once. We call it leaping over a mountain. You know, the only way to get over a mountain is one step at a time. You know, you can't ever like just leap over the mountain. You have to take the steps to get over it. But I think that sometimes we like to think that we could just leap over it, because every once in a while, sometimes it seems like you can, but that's not the way things work. But anyway, so another way to say it, and this is what I like, is a millimeter of progress is progress. Because sometimes when you're taking those steps over the mountains, it doesn't feel like you've gotten anywhere. You know, the horizon's still exactly where it was before and nothing seems to have changed around us. But a millimeter of progress is progress. So I'm approximately 80 days away from having this baby, or when the due date is, which I don't understand because that's only at 40 weeks, but whatever. Anyway, I'm about 80 days. And I have all those things I just mentioned that I'm working on, and I would love to have all of them down before this baby gets here. But I've been working on these things for roughly 18 years, and I haven't gotten them down yet. But I'm not saying that I can't in that amount of time, but I'm trying to show myself some grace and just say it's okay. Because if I do little steps every day for the next 80 days, I will be 80 steps closer in all of those things. And actually, I've already been taking some steps, which has been amazing. So the thing is, I guess, I don't remember exactly how I started this. I really need to have like a theme, so I have to go back on. But just take the steps, you know. And Eric's, what does he say? You just have to make it impossible to say no, or something along those lines. Like, you have to make it so that it's a necessity. You have to do this. You have to do this. You have to do this. And then no amount of excuses are even allowable to talk yourself out of it, because you have to make that call, or you have to, you know, go to the grocery store, or you have to cook that whatever, or you have to, you know, sit down and figure out what you're doing for school tomorrow. You know, you just take, and it's never, never, never as long as you think it is. So another thing I did a while back was Fly Lady, which is finally loving yourself, which I really liked. But she said things like, jump in where you are not behind, just jump in where you are. And she had this thing where you set your timer for 15 minutes. You set your timer for 15 minutes and then you just do your task. You get as far as you can done in that task in 15 minutes. And what's crazy is a lot of us think things will take a lot longer than they actually do. So if you set your timer for 15 minutes and you go to take that next step, you might be surprised that it didn't take 15 minutes. So if you think about it, we have lots of 15 minutes throughout our day. We just aren't usually very good at organizing or scheduling it in or making time for it or sticking to it. So wherever you are on that spectrum, then you know where you need to be or what you need to do just a little bit different. And just remember, a millimeter of progress is progress. It's progress. And sometimes those big leap forward often ends with a leap back, sometimes 2. And a millimeter forward with a little setback is a lot easier to overcome. And I'm not saying only make small steps, teeny tiny, itty bitty, inconsequential, because if you need to make a phone call, make a phone call. Look up the number, call them, talk to them. Don't just look up the number and say that that was good enough. Although sometimes you have to be the judge of that and be honest with yourself about that too. So I think the point of all of this was just do it. Just do it. Just do it and make it so that you have to, that you need to, and that it is just going to get done. It's a non-negotiable, and that's what you're heading towards. So whatever your goal is, make sure that you understand what the steps are to get there. So then if you need any help along the way, like if there's some gaps that you're just not, you just don't have the knowledge or you just don't have the skill yet, then you need to be able to fill in those gaps so that you're not just stuck, bridge that chasm and get on to the next thing. Because chances are part of the reason you're on this path isn't just to get over the mountain, but it's because of all those chasms along the way, so that you have the tools necessary so that when they pop up again later, you already know what to do. Ta-da! So anyway, wherever you're headed towards or whatever you're worried about, keep walking or just keep swimming, right? Just keep going. Don't stop. Keep going. Don't stop. Keep going. Make sure you know where you're headed so that you don't get off track, and make it so that nothing's going to dissuade you. And I wish there was only just one thing that you were ever headed towards, but there always seems to be like several handfuls of things. I don't know what you call it, spinning plates or whatever, but there's usually a bunch of different things that you're heading towards. And when you get stuck on one, sometimes getting through this one will give you the skills necessary to get through that one. I think about like, did you ever play like Nintendo? You only have 6 options, right? Up, down, left, right, and A and B, right? So up, down, down, left, right, B, A, B, A, select, start. Oh, I guess you have select and start too. So you have 8 buttons, but you don't usually do those when you're playing a game. So usually like for, I can't remember. If I had it in my hand, I probably could. For like Street Fighter, So if you're playing one character and, the up, right, down, left, I don't know, BB or whatever combination does the flying kick that usually knocks out their opponents, when you get your next character, you can go through that sequence again, and they might not do the flying kick that takes out the opponent, but they'll do something. So the sequence that'll get you through here often will equip you to get through here, because if you use that sequence over here, I'm trying to think of something. Oh, sure. So in speaking respect over my son, that makes it so that he feels respected, and then it's easier for him to do the right thing. It like kind of smooths things out and paves the way for him. And guess what? That works for every other person on the planet. So if there's somebody that I'm talking to, I can just add a few couple words about, you are amazing at this. I just don't understand why this is happening. Can you please explain it to me? When before, like, I would be like, what? Why? So just add a couple words, and then you give them respect and you show them that you appreciate them as a human being. However, this is perplexing to me and I don't understand why, So, but this code that's like working, well, and it's funny too, because I learned that code for Eric a couple of years ago. So that code with Eric, I just had to apply it to Ben. And then in applying it to Ben, I realized you really can do this with everybody. And man, do I wish I would have had these skills a long time ago. There'd be a lot less people out there that thought I was a jerk. Anyway, so take the steps, keep the tools, learn the lessons, apply the sequence elsewhere. Seriously, like nothing about life is super complicated. It's just that it changes from thing to thing. So if you're like, you have to turn left, but you're not driving a car, when you go to turn left, you need to look to the left and look to the right and then look to the left again, right? Because you're going to cross traffic. So doing that extra double take when you're turning left is something you should do in other things of your life. Take a double check as you walk out of the room to see if there's any micro cleaning that needs done. Take a double check before you react to somebody to see if maybe they're a little slouched and maybe it's not about what they're saying right now. Maybe something else is happening. If you take a double check before, if you just do a double check, it's not just about driving. It's kind of a thing that's applicable to life, So, and try it in other areas of life. Things that were successful in one area, try it in another area. And give yourself some grace, because not one of us are going to get this perfect. But when we try, Genuinely, honestly try. Prepare to be amazed, right? Okay. I love you. Have a beautiful and blessed day, and see you next week.